Ladies and gentlemen, friends, members, and colleagues, I'm Michael Lu, the Council's Taiwan Director. I'd like to share a quick picture of what's happening in Taiwan's grain market, what changes in 2025, and what we think comes next. Taiwan may not be a big country, but is one of the most steady and disciplined buyers of feed grains in Asia. Sometimes people see a buying spree of corn imports and assume it's a speculation, but that's not how Taiwan buys. Taiwan buys regularly, every month, based on the real feed demand, no drama, no last-minute panic tender, just a steady buy business. Today, I want to cover three things. First, Taiwan's stable feed fundamentals. Second, the shift back toward U.S. corn in 2025. And third, what we see the next horizon for Taiwan. First, the Taiwan's feed market is stable and predictable. Taiwan consumes about 8.5 million metric tons of feed a year. Because domestic grain production is almost zero, imports fill the gap, especially corn. For more than a decade, Taiwan has imported somewhere between 4.3 and 4.6 million metric tons of the corn annually. The consistency makes Taiwan a high-quality market for U.S. exporters because Taiwan has reliable volumes, predictable buying patterns, and strong commercial execution. The Council's program, including market outlook and technical seminars, workshops, trade executions, goodwill mission, and digital outreach, have helped reinforce the strong relationship in between United States and Taiwan and maintain U.S. visibility in the market. This cooperation was showcased during the Taiwan Agriculture Trade Goodwill Mission to Washington, D.C. last September, where letters of intent were signed to purchase more than $10 billion in agricultural products from 2026 to 2029, including over $2 billion in corn and DDGs. The second thing I want to share is Taiwan shift its corn sourcing back toward the United States. In 2025, Taiwan's total corn imports reached 4.4 million metric tons. The United States supplied 3.14 million metric tons and captured more than 71% of the market share. This is up from 38% in 2024 and up from just 16% in 2022. That was a big jump. In terms of volume, U.S. corn shipments to Taiwan grew more than 80% year on year. It's not political, it's not emotional, it's business, driven by the five key factors. The first factor is price and basis. The US Gulf and the PNW basis weakened thanks to bigger harvest and better export availability, while Brazilian FOB premiums got tighter as farmers slow sales. That's narrowed the price spread between United States and Brazil and brought US corn back into Taiwan's buying range. The second factor is the freight normalization. Bulk freight stabilized, narrowing delivery cost spread and giving the US PNW an advantage into North Asia. The third factor is the export availability and the timing. The United States entered 2025 with healthy exportable surplus, while Argentina had less to sell and more viable quality. Meanwhile, Brazil sold more volume to China and Middle East. Taiwan bought US corn at the right timing. The fourth factor is the China demand displacement. The lower Chinese corn imports allowed the United States to reallocate the export capacity to other Asian countries. Taiwan benefited. And the fifth factor, reliability. With ongoing logistic volatility due to geopolitical risks, weather, and routine disruptions, reliability started to matter more than ever. Taiwan importer placed real value on clean execution, predictable loading windows, and transparent quality. That reality premium benefited the United States. As mentioned, Taiwan is steady and a disciplined buyer, and the United States become the best placed and reliable supplier to serve the demand. Let me talk about the third important thing I want to share you, which is what's the next horizon? From feed to fuel. Once you recognize Taiwan feed demand is mature and stable, the next question comes, where the new structured demand come from? We believe the answer is bioethanol, applying to E10 gasoline and sustainable aviation fuel, and even maritime fuel. And in Taiwan, this is no longer theoretical. 3 developments and pushing it toward policy reality. The first development is the net zero and the transportation decarbonization. Taiwan has legislated a 2050 net zero target, but transportation emissions are really hard to cut quickly. Ethanol offers an immediate, scalable way to reduce emissions without waiting for every car or every motorcycle to go electric. The second factor is the standard modernization. To support this transition, the Council has carried out a series of high-impact ethanol promotion activities, including policy and technical research conferences, bioenergy workshops, the technical dialogue, joint research with university and think tanks, and sustained engagement with key ministries, refiners, and airlines. These efforts help trigger Taiwan's revision to its national fuel ethanol standard, which went 18 years without any update. So Taiwan is aligned with the United States standard, which is ASTM standard, and expanding E10 gasoline standard to both car and motorcycles. Standard sounds boring, but they are the hidden infrastructure that make branding and even policy mandates possible. And the third development is the CORSIA compliance for aviation fuel. With ICAO's CORSIA framework coming into force, Taiwan's airline and airports are actively evaluating sustainable aviation fuel. That moves ethanol from interesting to necessary. Let me quantify the opportunity. If Taiwan were to adopt E10, ethanol demand will reach about 1 billion liters, which is 260 million gallons. A 5% ATJ South paceway would add more than 400 million liters, which is 120 million gallons. Together, that's about 380 million gallons of ethanol demand. The total trade value is roughly $700 million per year. Why this matters for the United States? First, Taiwan is mature and stable core market, and through E10 gasoline and ATJ South, has the potential to become a dual demand market for US corn and ethanol in the future. The second, Taiwan already has a logistic refinery capacity and commercial culture to deploy branded fuel quickly. And the third matters is the United States can supply not only the feedstock like corn and ethanol, but also the resources such as regulation and standard, the compatibility studies of vehicle and infrastructure, carbon intensity methodology, sustainability frameworks, logistics, and finance. This is not just commodity trade, this is industrial and economic cooperation. The US and Taiwan agricultural relationship has been strong for decades. Now we are expanding the collaboration from feed and food to fuel. In addition to defend US corn competitiveness in Taiwan, The Council's mission will endeavor accelerating the policy and technical work needed to unlock new structured biofuel demand. Thank you for your listening and attention, and I'm looking forward to your question. Thank you very much.